All right, I'm running a little late tonight. Got a new power washer. I was outside using the power washer. What is it? 4,200 psi over 4 gallons a minute, and it's pretty much a beast. I got a neighbor I'm not particularly fond of, and next time he goes out of town, I think I'm gonna switch. Put the right nozzle on there. I think I can cut his house in half. So I'm gonna try it anyway. Feeling it though, a little bit sore. My forearms, my hands. Anyway, all right. I'm not here to whine. I'm here to talk about stocks. So the SPY today, um, we revisited the 200 day, and it just feels heavy. I had this big day here where the Dow was up like almost 700 points or whatever it was. Then it gapped up and just erased all of that. So things feel pretty bearish to me. Now look at the intraday on the SPY. I saw a lot of people complaining, and with justification. I mean, here's the opening candle, right? 5 minutes. So what does it do? Gaps up a little bit, which I say after a very weak day, I tell people that little gap up is bearish. So what does it do? Gaps up a little bit, takes out the early lows, takes out the early high, takes out the highs, right? Then takes out the lows again, then takes out the highs again, and then comes back into the range. And then every time, if you kind of watch it unfold, every time right here, you think we're rolling over. Oh, no, we're not. Oh, look at this. We're breaking out instead. No, we're not. And then you think we're rolling over. And I've never. Oh, and then here, this is when people were like, okay, now the SPY's going to lose it. And I was thinking to myself, I bet it's not, because it was the choppiest day I'd seen in a long time. Look at that. Just when you think it's rolling over, and look at the volume on that too. It just looked like it was a very frustrating, aggravating, goofy day. I didn't do much right today myself, but and remember this: the market's closed Friday, so this is the last trading day of this week. So I do have some stuff that is pretty interesting to me, and one of them, they're pretty much all bounce plays. And we're going to start with Tesla. Tesla has fallen maybe over two or 3 weeks from 347 down to an intraday low today of 252. On the chart, it's not like I see a great support here, but it's fallen so far, so fast, massive volume today that I'm kind of expecting a potential decent bounce in it. Again, I'm only going to take it with a proper intraday setup, but it's certainly worth watching. Red Hat, after gapping up after earnings, it was in a nice sideways range, gaps up, and then comes back down to the range, and then takes out the range to the downside. A lot of times you call the most recent trading, this whole sideways move, kind of equilibrium from the past, past month or so. So I kind of think this one might bounce tomorrow, even though that's weird action with the gap up, and then you completely engulf all this trading from the past month to the downside. But that's one to watch. YY, talked about this one. This one is pretty beaten up too. It's fallen in 3 sessions from almost 126 down. It took out 100 today before bouncing back up, close to the 200 day as well. That's another decent bounce candidate. NXPI. Again, I told you a bunch of bounce candidates. I talked about this in the video I made the other day about NVIDIA. This is look at the candles on this chart. You don't see any with this range going all the way back to however, a year or so, whatever I'm going back there, right? That is a massive candle. Plus you have the 200 day, plus you have some price support here. So this is a good candidate for a potential bounce tomorrow. That's NXPI. Let's see, Tesla already talked about. NVIDIA on watch. NVDA has fallen from basically 250 to a low today of 217 before settling into 221. That's another candidate that if it gives us a proper setup, you can get multi-dollar moves in these things if you catch the right entry. Square, 2 big down days, fallen from basically 55 down to an intraday low today of 46. That's a big 2-day sell-off. And I'll bring over my smaller chart with the orange line that shows you the 50-day. The green line, ignore. It's actually the 60 EMA, but I don't really use it for the daily chart. I use that on my 5-minute candle chart, so that's why it's on there. But 2 days down into the 50-day today. Good potential bounce candidate for tomorrow. Okay, that's SQ, SINA. Same thing. It's down like 4 or 5 days in a row, taking out the whole number 100, which has had a relationship with it. Bounced off here, and it's come in a hurry to take out these lows. Whenever that happens, 2 big down days to take out recent lows and the whole number, 100, That's a powerful number. A lot of times stocks get a relationship with whole numbers. So I'm, down below this area. I'll be looking for a turn back up tomorrow. GameStop, potential gap play tomorrow, closed at 14.15 and ended up trading, closing at 14.51 and after hours. So small gap up, but a lot of shorts in this name, and earnings are behind it now. It just had earnings. So I think this one might catch a bid tomorrow. Again, we're going to keep a close eye on the market. And then lastly, ZN, which went all the way down to the 200-day. And I was watching this for potential bounce near 3. Called it in the chat room, said, hey, let's watch this for a reversal. And then it's just chopping around. And then all of a sudden, wait for it, there it is. Gets a big pop. News came out. And then it gets halted. Comes out of the halt. Pulls back and then ends up ripping all the way to almost 420. So while the intraday still looks pretty ugly, you had 2 big down days. While the daily, I should say, still looks ugly. The intraday is kind of interesting when you know that it came out with news and had a pretty high volume pop. There still may be some short covering left in this thing tomorrow. Trade safe. I think volume, well, it's the end of the quarter, last day of the quarter, so that might cause some afternoon chaos. But also Friday, the market's closed. I don't know what to think tomorrow, but I'm just going to sit on my hands and wait, and until I see a plus setup, and then I'll put some money to work. All right, so just trade safe, and we'll see everybody tomorrow. Have a good night.